On this episode of Built to Last, we go on site for the latest in framing techniques. We'll also drop in on a job site to see how quickly a state-of-the-art wall panel system can take shape. Finally, we head to the Carpenters Training Center for a demonstration of welding skills by apprentice carpenters. Next on Built to Last. Hi, I'm Bruce Obora. Our goal this season is to show you how the latest construction techniques are used in building better residential and commercial structures from the bottom up. Whether a project calls for wood or steel beams, framing, the bones of a building is what makes the structure as important as the foundation it's built upon. Let's find out why.
Wood framing, metal framing, and prefabricated walls are all state-of-the-art methods to assemble a structure on a foundation. Chet Bussey, a senior project manager for Pepper Construction, has seen framing materials and methods improve.
As your time and experience being a carpenter and a superintendent, how have you seen things progress as far as construction?
Well, over the years, early on, there was a lot of wood framing, mostly all wood framing. Metal framing became more prevalent. It seems to be a faster, easier method.
Is there any other trends you see as far as material usage that is becoming more prevalent?
We do see a lot of manufactured wood products, LVLs, beams, plates. They're stronger. They can be manufactured in lengths that you can't get common lumber in, and they're readily available.
Already in progress, Pepper Construction was contracted to build a new commercial space and the renovation of Barrington's historical White House.
Well, we have a community center we're building here. It's an old residential building, built in 1898 originally, and we are rehabbing it historically 100%.
100% means that every inch of this house is about to get restored under the direction of a master carpenter.
One of the most important sustainable strategies that Pepper Construction Company has employed here at Barrington's White House is reusing and restoring existing millwork. That is helping us, instead of harvesting new trees and making products out of new wood, we're able to use the existing wood and put it back into place, not only to maintain the historical character of the building, but again, to conserve resources. And in order to be able to do that, you have to have a master carpenter that knows how to reuse the wood properly.
Master carpenter Tony Frazone was in charge of the wood restoration for Pepper Construction. A union carpenter with more than 30 years on the job, his experience was put to the test.
This column here, fellas, is totally rotted on the bottom. This is a solid piece of wood. Wow. This is solid poplar. This column was rotted on the bottom. So what I've done with this column is I've cut a V in it and got all the rotting out. I'm going to re-glue it and join it into here with cedar. And then we're going to continue these flutes through and patch it. The other column is another one where it is glued together, and the glue off it fell apart. So this one's all in pieces. So as you can see, it creates a circle as you go around. So as you can see, you create the column as it's put together, kind of almost like a whiskey barrel. But that's that column, but it was a different era This is a hollow column inside. That's a solid piece of lumber. Here's a piece of base that's damaged. I mean, there's no way we're going to be able to reuse this. It's totally damaged. So what I've done is I've taken it, I mean, in an example, for these panels that we're making, that I showed you to repair inside the wainscoting, this width here. So there's various widths. I've taken them down and I've cut them for a length rough, and then I've run them on a saw and cut 2 pieces out of this board. So actually, when I cut them 2 pieces out, I flip them and I glue them together, which you can see right here, which is the book match. You can see it right here. This is actually the joint right here. This is in its rough stage of sanding, and then it's a 1/4 inch to 3/16 wide, and then there'll be a piece of plywood glued on this to keep it stable, and we've got our panel back. This is another example. So we needed a stile or a rail that was about 2 inches wide. So right now, I mean, out of this board, I've got like 4 pieces. And then after that, we glue it and laminate it right to a piece of plywood, which keeps it very stable, and you've got yourself a nice board, very stable board, and everything it works out real well. And as you can see, out of a board like this, you yield like 3, 4, maybe 5 panels in some of these. So actually, you're really working out good, because this kind of material, this is for first growth trees. And this quartering in here and quilting in here and the patina of the wood still deepens in color, even though when you cut these in half, you still get that richness in the color. So these are things you're not going to be able to find.
So Tony's told you a little bit about how we're reusing wood and saving trees in the process, and doing a historic renovation to this beautiful building. A few other strategies that the Carpenters are involved with is, you probably saw before as you walked around, there's a lot of framing here. And in the past, traditionally, there's been a lot of wood that's been scrapped, sent to landfills, and now there's processes where we can shred it and reuse it. But even so, the best thing is eliminating the waste. So it's important for carpenters to go and engineer their framing programs to minimize the amount of wood waste on a project as one important sustainable strategy.
A project as sophisticated as the restoration of a home built in 1898 is the domain of a skilled tradesman.
Carpentry and carpenters are very critical to the sustainable construction process. Here at the Barrington White House, and where I am right now, you can see some of the strategies employed. One is, we're very concerned about interior air quality, both during construction and how it affects the occupants afterwards. So we're trying to minimize dust. And as you can see, with a lot of wood and sawing going on, that can get released into the air and create health problems for not only the current workers, but future participants in the project. So we have things right here. The carpentry tools have become sophisticated, where we have vacuum attachments like the one you see here, or if you go over here into the master carpenter's workspace a little bit more, you'll see there's vacuums and attachments on table saws, and you'll notice in this space there's very little dust, if any. You really have a clean air, sort of like you're in somebody's living room. So that's one of the strategies, and carpenters are critical to knowing the right equipment to use for the right task.
Months of work in the exterior and interior of the Barrington White House should prove to be a benefit to the village and a great example of sustainable building practices.
We are a few months later now, and we've gone through all the engineering process and approval process for that. The light gauge trusses have been approved. You can see they're in place. We've started to place them. They're about 90% complete. We just have this north elevation to finish off. The structural steel trusses, there are 6 steel trusses included in this frame. They're in place with the light gauge system tied into that, along with all the structural reinforcement all the way down to the basement foundation is in place.
The 3rd floor of the historical residence present new challenges. Its new life as a social center for public use required special attention for the roof of the ballroom.
As you can see, we have light gauge metal framing and a truss system here. Some structural steel trusses that go along with that light gauge framing.
Okay. And then as far as wood framing is kind of traditional stick on-site framing?
Yeah, I think we do You may do some prefabrication on wood framing. These knee walls here on this floor were fabricated on the ground in large sections and in place, but typically I think wood framing would be more stick-built, especially on an application like this. You get maybe a straighter, better product out of metal construction, especially in new construction areas. Carpenters are used to using those materials now, and they are good at installing them quickly.
On the third floor of the Barrington White House, an engineered steel truss roof mimics the original wood roof. It's the marriage of 1898 style with 21st century design, perfect for a residential home repurposed to be a community center.
The original roof, wood-framed roof, was scanned before we started the project. That information was given to the architects and engineers, and they duplicated the design. This addition in the back is a larger addition than was here, so this framing is a little bit different. But with the new metal framing that we have here, we were able to achieve the headroom that we see. This will be a ballroom, banquet hall on this floor. We'll have 18 to 20 foot of headroom in some spaces. The metal framing actually helped allow that to happen.